Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. U.S. stocks plunge after President Trump's tariffs, the worst day in years since the beginning of the pandemic. Also tonight, at least 30 tornadoes and the warning and watches right now, the dangerous storms coming tonight, and the massive and deadly home explosion. First tonight, President Trump's tariffs sending U.S. stocks plummeting. The Dow closing down nearly 1,700 points today alone, one of its worst days ever. The NASDAQ and S&P 500 seeing their worst day in years. Millions of Americans seeing their 401ks shrink as families now brace for higher prices. The third largest U.S. automaker, Stellantis, laying off 900 workers tonight. President Trump saying late today, quote, "I think it's going very well." And tonight we're on the auto lot. We're at the appliance store, the supermarket, across this country with prices set to spike. Also breaking tonight, authorities warning of potential tornadoes and dangerous storms moving in tonight, multiple states. At least 30 tornadoes already. At least 2 EF3 tornadoes touching down, winds between 150 and 160 miles per hour. Families taking shelter underground. The home explosion tonight turning deadly, the massive inferno. A woman inside the home killed, a man blown right into the front yard. He survives it. There is news coming in from Washington, D.C. at this hour, the stabbing spree in the nation's capital. Tonight, President Trump firing several members of the National Security Council following an Oval Office meeting with a far-right activist. Also breaking here tonight, what HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. told our reporter. He now acknowledges mistakes made amid the massive firings in his department. The parents charged after disturbing images, the brawl during a youth hockey game. Bruce Springsteen opening the vault. The Boss about to release 7 lost albums. And America Strong tonight, you have to see the remarkable images from the Philadelphia Zoo. She's a first-time mom at 97 years old.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Thursday night. We begin tonight with the U.S. stock markets in a free fall after President Trump's announcement of sweeping tariffs, the worst single-day losses in years since the beginning of the pandemic. Americans and their 401ks taking immediate hits, and families now bracing for higher prices from groceries to cars to appliances. The Dow falling nearly 1,700 points today alone, nearly 4%. The S&P 500 down nearly 5%, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ index falling nearly 6%, their worst day in 5 years. President Trump announcing a baseline 10% tariff on goods coming into the U.S., even steeper tariffs from many countries, including China, the EU, Japan, and South Korea. Late today, President Trump saying, quote, "I think it's going very well." In addition, overnight, a 25% tariff on all imported cars and auto parts kicked in. And tonight, the third largest U.S. automaker, Stellantis, the maker of Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep, now laying off 900 workers in Indiana and Michigan. Nike saw its stock fall more than 14% today. Apple stock falling more than 9%. And analysts say bringing back production to the U.S., even if just 10% of iPhones were made here, it would more than triple the cost of an iPhone. So how will this all work? How long will this pain last? And what President Trump said today about the economic pain already. ABC's chief business and economics correspondent Rebecca Jarvis leading us off tonight from Wall Street.
Tonight, U.S. stocks in free fall. President Trump sweeping new tariffs, sending stocks plummeting, leading to the market's worst day since the start of the pandemic 5 years ago. The Dow plunging nearly 1,700 points, or 4%. The S&P 500 down more than 4.8%. The tech-heavy NASDAQ down nearly 6%. Among the hardest hit, car makers, including U.S. companies Ford, Tesla, and General Motors. And already tonight, the president's sweeping tariffs taking a toll on American jobs. The third largest automaker in the U.S., Stellantis, which makes Jeep, Chrysler, and Dodge, temporarily laying off 900 workers in Indiana and Michigan as it pauses production in factories in Canada and Mexico after the president's new 25% tariff on foreign-made autos. And for Americans watching their 401ks shrink and bracing now for higher prices from groceries to cars, economists across the board arguing this is not a surprise with tariffs so steep.
The tariffs are a tax on imports, and that tax has to be borne by somebody, and history suggests that it's going to be the American consumer.
Other American companies seeing their stocks plunge too. Nike, which produces about half its shoes at factories in Vietnam, down 14.4%. Apple, which designs its iPhone in California, but relies on manufacturing in China, India, Vietnam, and Malaysia, down 9.2%. And even if Apple made just 10% of its phones back here in the U.S., analysts estimate the cost of an iPhone would surge from $1,000 to $3,500 because of the cost of labor here. Home building and furniture hurt too. Restoration hardware stocks sinking 40% as the president announced his tariffs. The CEO reacting in real time.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I just looked at the screen. I hadn't looked at it. It got hit when I think the tariff came out.
And tonight on Wall Street, investors telling me the pain is far from over.
Living through a day like today, not knowing what the next few days are going to bring or the next quarter, that's where it gets a little troubling.
And David, we are just in day one, just 24 hours since the president's announcement. It's still unclear how countries will respond, how they'll react, whether they'll negotiate or retaliate. J.P. Morgan tonight saying that if these tariffs are sustained, it will likely plunge the U.S. and the world into recession. David?
Rebecca Jarvis leading us off tonight. Rebecca, thank you. The president late today leaving the White House amid the markets plunging, saying, I think it's going very well, signaling he will stay the course. Here's Mary Bruce.
Tonight, President Trump sounding unbothered by the plunge on Wall Street after his sweeping tariffs upended the world economy.
I think it's going very well. It was an operation like when a patient gets operated on, and it's a big thing.
In the past, the president has acknowledged his tariffs could cause short-term pain to American consumers and businesses. But today, he only spoke of rosy times ahead.
The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal?
But watching the markets dive today, the president's own former Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin saying he hopes there can be a deal to lift some of these tariffs, acknowledging the reality that fulfilling Trump's pledge to return manufacturing to the U.S. will take years.
I'm hopeful that those will be negotiated down, that those are tariffs that will bring people to the table and we'll negotiate them down. Now, for many businesses, it takes a while to move the manufacturing base.
Tonight on Air Force One, the president laying out a timetable.
How long will it take to get manufacturing, American manufacturing, to where you would like to see it?
Well, let's say it's a 2-year process. They can build them fast, but they're still very big plants. So I'd always say it would take a year and a half to 2 years.
But he did not explain what would happen to alleviate pain in the interim, or acknowledge that American businesses will likely pay more to build products here than overseas, costs that economists warn will be passed on to consumers. The president today not acknowledging the economic pain his tariffs may cause, and when pressed on this all day, White House officials reiterating the same message: have faith. Trust the president. David.
Mary Bruce at the White House. Mary, thank you. In the last 24 hours, the president did acknowledge he campaigned on groceries. But millions of families are now bracing for higher prices tonight. What we found at the grocery store, the appliance store, and at the auto lot. Matt Gupman on how this could affect so many of you at home.
Tonight, Americans are bracing after voters made it clear in November inflation and high prices were the top issue. Now, they're fearful prices are going to get worse, not better, on everything from cars to clothes, electronics to groceries. And like millions of Americans, Susan Linder is retired and on a fixed income.
We're terrified, really. And it makes no sense. I mean, look at the stock market today. It makes no sense that these tariffs have gone into effect.
Those tariffs will mean higher costs at the supermarket on produce not grown here and on coffee, chocolate, and other items.
Something else to look out for: seafood. The USDA says 80% of seafood consumed in the U.S. comes from high tariff countries, places like Vietnam, Indonesia, India, Canada, Chile. So that could rise.
Tonight, analysts say these new tariffs could cost an average American family of 4 up to $7,200 extra a year. It was just 24 hours ago the president acknowledging he campaigned by talking about groceries.
It's such an old-fashioned term, but a beautiful term, groceries. It sort of says a bag with different things in it. Groceries went through the roof, and I campaigned on that.
For this father of 3, it's not old-fashioned. it's a real concern with prices set to go higher.
We're going to start feeling the pinch pretty soon, right?
We're feeling it now, you know. I go in there, I see the prices. I try to act like they don't exist, and I just try to work harder.
Almost every industry feeling the pinch. This appliance store in Norwood, Massachusetts hopes to absorb some of the costs.
If there are increases in price, you know, they'll see if the manufacturer can absorb some of them too. You know, really just to keep the cost down for the consumer.
And this Toyota dealership in Palm Beach, Florida, is trying to hold out too.
They would be able to absorb, sustain a period of time, you know, with these without really passing it along to consumers.
But at David Dion's furniture store in LA, he says he'll have to pass on at least some of the costs to the consumer.
If you had to absorb more of the tariff and not pass it on to consumers, could you stay in business?
No, I would get out of business. There is no way I can absorb this kind of cost.
And David, as we just saw, some of those businesses will try to absorb the cost, but the reality is, from furniture to appliances, from cars to groceries, it's consumers who will have to bear the burden of those tariffs. David.
We're just 24 hours in, and we're going to stay on this. Matt Gutman with us tonight. Matt, thank you. To the other major news this Thursday night, authorities are warning of potential tornadoes again tonight. Dangerous storms moving in across multiple states. There have been at least 30 tornadoes already. At least 6 people are dead. This EF3 with 150-mile-an-hour winds near Lake City, Arkansas, families sheltering underground. So Lee Goldberg is standing by with the forecast, and Victor Oquendo from the storm zone.
Tonight, families in fear, bracing for powerful storms amid a devastating and deadly tornado outbreak. More than 30 tornadoes reported in the last 24 hours.
All I see is a piece of plywood.
East of Memphis, lightning flashing as first responders search for survivors after an EF3 tornado with 160-mile-an-hour winds slammed Selmer, Tennessee. And northwest of Memphis in Lake City, Arkansas, a tornado emergency declared for this EF3 monster.
Please, God, keep it going right.
You can hear Britton Tyner praying as that massive tornado bore down on his family, taking shelter underground. Morgan Ernest telling our Ginger Z she rode out the tornado in this cellar with her 2 toddlers, husband and mother.
You could feel just in that storm cellar, just it shaking, and the debris falling down.
This SUV landing on top of the shelter. Thankfully, they were able to get out and round up the family dog and her 5 puppies. The tornado tearing a path of destruction across town. This was Super Body Auto and Paint in Lake City. You can see that pickup truck flipped upside down. The owner and his wife were here when the tornado hit. Family tells me they were stuck underneath all of this rubble for 3 hours. Firefighters rushing them to the hospital. What did they say when they called you?
Que se le había caído el edificio.
That the building had fallen on them. Authorities in Lake City say given the size of that tornado, it's a miracle no one was killed here. David, this will take a massive cleanup effort. They just can't work fast enough as there are real concerns about more storms that could bring catastrophic flooding. David?
In that same region, Victor, thank you. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg from our New York station, WABC, tracking another dangerous night ahead. Hi, Lee.
David, flash flooding in Little Rock right now, 4 to 5 inches an hour with rainfall rates, vehicles being rescued. There are tornado warnings west of Nashville. The tornado threat could even be higher in Texarkana and Little Rock tomorrow, maybe some EF3s. It's day 3 of the higher risk for life-threatening flooding. We could have 6 to 10 inches of additional rainfall. That could send local streams, creeks, and rivers into major flood stage. We have to wait till Sunday for relief. David?
Lee Goldberg back with us. Lee, thank you. We turn now to the deadly home explosion and the massive inferno near Detroit. And here's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, a deadly house explosion rocking this Michigan neighborhood. Charred wreckage and a massive hole left in its wake. First responders on the scene south of Detroit just before 6 this morning, battling the inferno.
It was all just flames. It was a big boom. Exactly when I woke up, I heard that big boom.
The force of the blast launching a couch into a window across the street. A second home also catching fire. Debris strewn across multiple yards, littering trees and rooftops. Authorities say 2 people were inside at the time of the blast.
Upon arrival, the officers located a 37-year-old female trapped in the house under rubble and a 38-year-old male who had actually been blown out of the house into the front yard.
Both victims were hospitalized for extensive burns and other injuries. Authorities say the woman later died.
And David, this morning's blast is under investigation, but officials say they do believe it's gas-related. David.
Trevor Alt with us tonight. Trevor, thank you. A major headline in Washington, President Trump firing several members of the National Security Council following an Oval Office meeting with a far-right activist. Also tonight, what HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. told our reporter. He now acknowledges mistakes were made amid the massive firings in his department. Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, sources tell ABC News President Trump fired 6 members of the National Security Council at the urging of Laura Loomer, a far-right conspiracy theorist who met with the president in the Oval Office yesterday as he was preparing to announce his sweeping tariffs.
Always we're going to let go of people that we don't like, or people that we don't think can do the job, or people that may have loyalties to somebody else.
Loomer, who has promoted fringe theories, like that the 9/11 attacks were, quote, an inside job, has long been close to Trump.
She makes recommendations of things and people, and sometimes I listen to those recommendations.
The president says Loomer was recommending people for jobs.
Did she have anything to do with the NSC aides who were ousted?
No, not at all.
But sources tell ABC News Loomer named several top security aides she considered disloyal. And today, at least 6 senior National Security Council officials were removed. It comes as ABC News learns of a major reversal at the Department of Health and Human Services. Monday, the agency began laying off 10,000 workers and shuttering whole divisions. The top scientist monitoring bird flu, gone. The official who led the program that cut teen tobacco use in half, gone too. But tonight, Health Secretary RFK Jr. telling ABC News some of the programs eliminated were cut by mistake. Kennedy making those comments after ABC's Cheyenne Haslett asked him why the department had cut a CDC program that monitors lead levels in children. It was this program that uncovered the lead in applesauce pouches in 2023.
Can you explain the rationale for cutting a program like that and why that's not an essential service?
There were some programs that were cuts that are being reinstated, and I believe that that's one of them.
Kennedy then acknowledging that in the course of the mass layoffs and restructuring, several mistakes were made. Programs cut that should not have been, and people fired who should still be in their jobs.
There were a number of instances where studies that should not have been cut were cut, and we've reinstated them. Personnel that should not have been cut were cut, or reinstating them.
Secretary Kennedy insists the cuts are necessary to streamline the department, but he still has not said which programs are coming back or how many people will be rehired. David.
And acknowledging mistakes to ABC News, Rachel Scott there at the White House. Thank you. When we come back tonight, we are learning of a stabbing spree in the nation's capital, what we know so far. Also from Philadelphia tonight, you have to see the images coming out of the zoo. The first-time mother at 97 years old. And then the disturbing story tonight, the parents now charged the brawl during their children's game, where this played out in a moment here. Tonight, we have learned of a stabbing spree in the nation's capital. Police say 6 people were stabbed in a neighborhood in northeast Washington, including a grandmother and her 2 granddaughters. They are expected to survive. We're told the suspect is in custody tonight. This evening, several parents have been charged following a brawl during a youth hockey tournament in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. Coaches and parents coming out of the court joining the fight. 3 parents have been charged with assault and disorderly conduct. When we come back here tonight, Bruce Springsteen's lost album's about to be revealed, and you have to see those remarkable images from the Philadelphia Zoo. She's a first-time mom at 97. To the Index, Bruce Springsteen revealing a treasure of never-before-heard songs. He also released 7 so-called lost albums in June. The collection includes 83 songs he wrote between 1983 and 2018. When we come back tonight, the endangered tortoise, a first-time mom at 97, and you'll see her and the babies in a moment. Finally tonight here, the first-time mom at 97 and one of her babies right here at the team at the Philadelphia Zoo, America Strong. Tonight at the Philadelphia Zoo, a new incredible world record, a first-time mom at 97 years old and her babies. 4 critically endangered Western Santa Cruz Galápagos tortoise hatchlings have just hatched. Less than 50 are known to exist in America.
Hi, David.
Their care team introducing us.
They represent a new genetic lineage of this species in human care, and we're so happy to have them.
Tonight, the zoo telling us they are proud to protect the endangered population and proud of that new mom. They call her Mommy. And they say, remarkably, she is a first-time mother at 97 years old, now the oldest known first-time mother ever of her species.
Hi, David.
Zookeeper Jason Alfondre.
She is our oldest and longest tenured resident.
estimated hatching in 1928 and has been here since 1932. So she's about as filly as it gets.
Tonight, the zoo saying the babies are healthy. They'll be ready to make their big public debut on April 23rd, about 3 weeks from tonight.
Congratulations, Mommy!
Congrats to you, and the mom looks great at 97. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.